Greetings and welcome. Welcome to New Things, Monday noon devotion. Thank you for joining us. This Monday noon devotion is of great importance, even greater than some before. But what an awesome time we're living in today. Christians are being persecuted beyond measure around the world, particularly Nigeria, and finally America has noticed because President Trump has made that notification before us, and we are hearing it much more so than would be just the news on the radio or news on the TV, and taking more notification of it. The sad fact is that's a normalcy that is going to be from here until Jesus returns. In fact, it's going to get worse according to Scripture. But I want to talk with you a little bit in a different tone, a different direction today. And that is where God is at work. In fact, the real purpose is God is at work all around us. Jesus said, "My Father has been working until today, and I'm also working." So we know that God is at work. And if we know that God is at work, we ought to follow him and trust him because he is at work. Now, the times and seasons are not in our hands, but they are in God's hands. And so God knows what he's doing. In this passage of scripture, we see that very vividly. In Exodus chapter 13, verse 17, then it came to pass when Pharaoh had let the people go that God did not lead them by way of the land of the Philistines, although that was nearer. That was a nearer way to Canaan, to the promised land, than the way they went. Because this is what God said. This was his thinking. This was his mindset at the time. For God said, lest perhaps the people change their minds when they see war and return to Egypt. You see, the Hebrews, the Jews, had been enslaved in bondage for 400 years. Now we can't imagine that. They were in bondage for 400 years, plagues all around them, death and near-death experience there at the Red Sea. Finally, they were gathered together in the wilderness between Egypt and Canaan. All they had to do was to head north around the north shore of the Mediterranean Sea, and they would enter the land flowing with milk and honey a lot sooner. But that's not the way God led them at all. Moses turned the people due south, straight onto the searing sands of the Sinai Desert, away from the promised land. Much further distance to get there. Well, they had already shown God exactly how they were going to be. They had already shown God that they were disruptive, disobedient, disloyal children. But that wasn't the reason God led them the way he did. God showed Moses the people would be attacked by the Philistines if they followed the normal route to Canaan. And once attacked, they would flee for safety back to Egypt. Moses did not explain this to the Hebrews. There's no indication whatsoever that he did. They simply had to trust God, the God of their fathers, that he was at work in their midst. Now listen very carefully. A lot of the times we go through what we go through is because God is at work, and he is wanting to lead us in the best direction that will cause us to continue or cause us to trust in him implicitly, alone, in him alone. God puts us where we need to be when we need to be there to accomplish his purposes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a God who loves us dearly, who gave his own son for us to die on the cross. Why would he take us anywhere, any which way, but the way that would get us to the point of trusting in him alone? His timing is perfect. His directions are perfect. His purposes are perfect. And everything he does for our good and for his glory. So the next time you're facing troubles and difficulty, the next time we are facing difficult decisions, rest in the care of the Lord, knowing that he brought us to that point just for that reason, to trust in him alone. God bless you. Good day.